Hang in there, it is!
Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
I'm Smylie Kaufman, and this is The Smylie Show.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of The Smylie Show. Super pumped to have Mackenzie Hughes. I mean, Mackenzie, I feel like we got paired together a lot, right? Like this, I mean, I feel like I saw your name pop up on the tee sheet like more often than I was. Like me, you, and Peter Malnati got paired together often for like that entire like 2016 year.
Yeah, I feel like at least a handful of times we played together that year. Yeah, I definitely remember that, and we had some good times for sure.
Heck yeah. Well, you're up in Cromwell for the Travelers Championship, and I'm heading up there tomorrow, and excited to get up there for the final signature event of the year. The year has just absolutely flown by faster than any year that I can remember. And Mackenzie, we just came off the cusp of maybe one of the most entertaining television golf experiences we've had, arguably in the last decade at the U.S. Open at Pinehurst. You played. You were at Pinehurst number 2. You know exactly what this golf course is all about. What were your impressions of Pinehurst number 2, and then just also maybe just what we witnessed on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, that was my first time to Pinehurst playing any of those golf courses there. So playing number 2 for the first time Monday, it was a bit eye-opening around some of those greens. There was a few shots that you'd get around that property where you were just like, I would love to make bogey here, which is very weird to say when you're around a green.
Especially you have a great short game, you know?
Yeah, and there were just a few spots there. I'm like, wow, this is going to test everything that you have this week. And, I mean, I think it was like a not so typical U.S. Open in the sense that, like, you didn't have to hit fairways. I think you go to most U.S. Opens and you feel like that's what it really requires of you is to just, like, hit the fairways, hit the greens. And this week in Pinehurst, it was quite a bit different. I mean, you watch Bryson hit, I don't know, 2 fairways in the back 9 maybe, and still win. So, a lot of luck involved there. But around the greens, man, it required so much precision and touch, and then to watch that finish with Rory and Bryson going at it, and to see Rory, I hate to say, like, I feel like Rory kind of lost it. As much as Bryson hit a great shot there in 18, it kind of felt like Rory kind of gave it away a little bit, and you kind of feel for him. But I mean, the TV itself was great, and I feel like these majors have kind of given golf kind of what it needs a little bit, is that kind of injection of just excitement and all the best players playing together and competing. Right. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come, going forward for golf. But I mean, incredible TV.
Absolutely. And it's been a while since I've kind of had the shaky hands over a putt that really mattered. So I'm going to have to defer to you, somebody that's a fantastic putter, and just kind of take me through maybe what Rory was going through on the final couple holes on those putts. When you have everything on the line and just trying to run a routine, what do you kind of rely on when the moment is so big and everybody's watching, and like the 16th green seemed like a more of a hiccup than anything, but the 18th green, what are some of the things that you like to do to get yourself in the right frame of mind to be able to make a high leverage putt like that, even though your mind and your body just doesn't feel like it's working?
Yeah. I mean, to me, and again, I'm not inside Rory's head, but I'm sure that a lot of the near misses that he's had and the fact that he hasn't won a major in 10 years, coming down those last few holes, I'm certain he was quite nervous, and those putts to me, maybe showed a little bit of nerves, and it's hard to get across the line when you've been, expected to do so for so long. I think that weight of expectation is, on his shoulders, and it has been for a long time. And, but I just think that when I think back to the big putts I've had to make in my career, which, I haven't had to, make a putt like that, like he had to make on 18 to try and get into a playoff at a major. But yeah, winning PGA Tour events and all that still requires, a high level of focus. And I had to make a putt to win the Sanderson Farms in 22 in a playoff. And like for me, I think it comes back to like I try to focus on the things that I can control in that moment. So I might have like one or two little process keys for me that when I'm over the ball, I'm like, hey, I'm just going to try and control this one thing or this other thing. And that's all I'm going to try and do, whether it be like, I just want to hit this ball solid, or I just want to hit this ball solid and hold my finish. Like something like that to me gives me like a little mini goal that's not so outcome oriented. I'm not trying to think like, oh, I have to make this putt. I have to make this putt. And I mean, the putt that we're at in 18, I don't think people understand like how hard that putt actually is. I mean, I know it's only 4 feet, but I mean, the thing broke a cup.
I said it was left center, Mackenzie, and it was a left center putt. If he hammered it, it was a left center putt.
If you wanted to smash it back, yeah, you could get left center.
It was a tough scene. I got behind the green, and you know how hard it is to read putts from 30 feet away.
Yeah.
But I didn't see enough to make, and that's the thing about Pinehurst number 2. When you got above the hole, even when you're inside of 4 feet, you had putts that were outside the hole. And I think as a player, if I would have got over it, I would have known that.
Yeah. And it was a putt that you couldn't hit hard. Now, if that had been a putt to tie and like force a playoff, maybe you would have taken it tighter and just like hit it. But I mean, at that point, like he's not sure what Bryson does behind him. So if Bryson makes bogey, he can still be in a playoff. So you're not trying to make that putt with a bunch of speed. And I mean, yeah, it might not have been his best putt, but it didn't seem like a bad putt either.
It was he liked the left center read, and just like and when he heard maybe I said it on air, he's like, you know what, I got to push it over there. Next thing you know, it's missing right.
Oh man, I just like that's just like the last putt you want to have to hit to in that scenario. I mean, like what Bryson had was ideal. I mean, up the hill, probably right edge. You're just like, oh, this is a dream. But Rory's putt was nightmare fuel. And yeah, again, just you hate to see it go that way at the end. I mean, you want to see someone. I mean, obviously Bryson still hit a great shot and made a great putt to win. But yeah, you hate to see a guy that played so great all day lose it the way Rory did. But I'm quite certain he'll bounce back and he'll win one soon.
Yeah, definitely. He's got the talent too, and it's. I just wish we had more majors, so more guys had opportunities to win. It's just it comes, around so little during the year. But I think where I want to kind of go next is on Twitter today. I'm just kind of scrolling on Twitter, and I just happened to see Bryson showing up to the LIV golf event in Nashville, and all of a sudden all of the feelings and the excitement and the likability that I had for Bryson at the US Open, it suddenly just kind of reverted back and it vanished, and it reminded me of just where we are in the game, and that I was like, man, it's so nice to have all the players back and having Bryson in the mix. He's so fun to watch. And what Bryson, as he was heading out the door towards the LIV Golf Tour, he wasn't as well liked, and he had issues with the PGA Tour, and other players like struggled to get along with him. There wasn't very many players on the Ryder Cup or President's Cup team that wanted to play with him. And that was just the reality of where Bryson was at the time. But here we are now a couple years later, the maturity from Bryson, just where he has just in the game and how many eyeballs he's bringing. I think for the most part, he's somebody that I genuinely really cheer for now. And it wasn't maybe that way a couple years ago, but he shows up now to Nashville, Mackenzie, and you had a really great quote back in December, just talking about the state of the game and that we are far away, and that the fans are not really being rewarded in what is to be, a huge division between the PGA Tour and LIV, and really it all has come down to money. But I just kind of want to hear your thoughts now compared to where they are in December, as we're supposedly kind of getting closer to a deal.
Yeah, I mean, to your point on Bryson, I mean, I think there's no doubt that, he's good for the game. He does things in a different way. He's an emotional guy. He plays to the crowd. I think golf needs those characters, and I think for a long time he was maybe so different that people couldn't accept him for how different he was. But when you're different and you're different produces wins like that and excitement like that, I think that people start to fall in love with that and get behind it. So I think certainly he's become way more popular than he was, I think, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And it's, as a player, I think it's pretty impressive what he's done. Transforming his game and his body, hitting it incredibly far, but also still having an incredible short game. I watched a lot of the golf on Sunday, and he hit some incredible chips and great putts, and it's just
chip on 10 was so good.
Like a little 60-yard wedge with a lob wedge that's like the length of a 7-iron. You're like, how do you do that? But as far as like the state of the game and where we are now versus December, I mean, I think my thoughts are still, or my feelings are still very much the same. I think that it's really unfortunate where we are, because it's still you watch Bryson go back to LIV, and you're still reminded of the fact that like a bunch of guys kind of turned their back on the tour, took a bunch of money and a guaranteed payday to go play what I think is pretty meaningless golf over there. And I hate that you leave such a high, and then you go ahead and just like divide the golf world again. You go, some of the great players are going to LIV and playing in Nashville this week, and some players are going here to Connecticut and playing here. And I think it's unfortunate that's where we are, but I'm hopeful that we're closer, to some sort of resolution. And what that looks like, I have no idea. I used to try to get my nose in there and try and figure out what was going on. Now it's just like, I hope that the guys that are in charge are working hard at this, and I'm hopeful that it'll be done soon. But yeah, it's just, again, the fans lose. Golf loses. I think you look at Bryson, you look at some of these top players and like Xander, I mean, they're still seeing great success and they're still doing great things, and it's not really affecting them so much. It's just that the fan ultimately wants to see the U.S. Open. They want to see like Bryson versus Rory. You haven't seen that in 3 or 4 years. I mean, it doesn't happen. I mean, Bryson's playing somewhere else, Rory's playing here on tour. So to me, the golf fans that love golf want to see that more, and hopefully going forward, we're getting closer to that.
And selfishly, I mean, you had to be kind of excited that Jon Rahm went to the LIV Golf Tour, right?
I mean, it's funny. I hated that. I hated that for golf. I really did. I mean, I'm not, just saying that, but I think that him going there sucked because it was just like another blow to the tour and to golf. But
you got to remind everybody exactly what happened here, because you were 51st in the FedEx Cup standings. Jon Rahm goes to LIV, and so somebody's got to be number 50. Just happened to be Mackenzie Hughes. So you've gotten into all 7 signature events this year because of Jon Rahm leaving.
Yeah, and that was obviously a huge bonus for me. But again, I think it was bittersweet, because you're like, the tour is worse off without Jon Rahm, and the game continues to suffer when you have things like this happen. But yeah, I did get a little carrot thrown there for me. Heck
yeah, that's a big old carrot, man. You take that, you dip that in some ranch or whatever you want to dip it into.
Yeah. So no, it definitely benefited me, and I've done a decent job taking advantage of it so far this year. I've played decent in a few of these signature events, but I have Jon Rahm to thank for that. And I was going to get him something, but I was like, what do you get someone that just signed for $400 million? I mean, I don't think he wants my my wine basket with some, I don't know, whatever.
You know what you should get him? you should send him over a better team name and a better logo for Team Legion. It's the grossest one of the entire bunch, and they had all the time in the world to potentially come up with the new slickest logo, the slickest team name. Just a total miss by the new Team John Rahm.
I mean, is there one good team name over there though? I mean, to be fair, do you like any of them? Like, which one is your favorite?
I'm a cleat guy.
You're a cleat guy. Wow.
It's kind of a bit. And if you didn't know, the Cleeks just actually won in Houston. And
wow.
It may have been the first top 3 finish in the franchise history for somebody who's been a fan of the franchise since day one.
There's a long history there in that franchise.
It was bittersweet. We've been hanging out with the Ironheads. We've been hanging out with the Majestics, and all those teams have been going out, hanging out, teeing off on the 16th, 17th, and 18th hole every tournament. And boy, was it sweet to finish up on the 18th with somebody from the Cleeks team finishing up. I don't know who it was, but
who plays for the Cleeks? Can you tell me who the players are?
All right, Richard Bland. He's been.
Isn't Keimer the captain of the Cleeks?
Keimer's the captain. His play has been helpful. Richard Bland, I think Samuja has been recently added. I'm not sure exactly who Samuja is or if that's his name. And then there's another guy.
Okay, another guy
on the Cleeks. I'm not sure. You see how much I love the Cleeks?
Yeah, you're a big Cleeks guy, I can tell.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Well, there was something I was about to kind of get you into on this, which is you've just played the new format on all the signature events this year with one more left to play at the Travelers. Last year, the signature events were, I believe they were around 120 guys with cuts. This year, closer to 70 guys ish, give or take.
Yeah.
And some cuts, but mostly no cut events. For you, you're finished at the Wells Fargo this year. You finished 6th place. And for somebody that I would imagine that you would argue that there should be more players playing, but I also want to ask you that you're finished at the Wells Fargo finishing 6th. Do you feel like because you beat a higher quality field, do you think you deserve to be paid what you were paid? And do you think the signature events moving forward should have more guys? Or do you think it's a reward for playing really well the year before? And then if you go out and play against the best players in the world and play well, hey, like this is me. This is what I get because I beat the best guys.
I think the intent of those events was good. I just think they've kind of missed a little bit. I think so. Back to your point, like the field sizes last year were actually like at Wells Fargo last year was 156.
It was 156. Okay, yeah. I was just thinking in my head it was 120.
And I believe Travelers as well was a big field, like 156 as well, like full field. Because once you get to the summertime, you can go 156, and so and I don't think 156 is the answer, but I think like if you went, let's say, to 100 or 120 man fields, like I think 120 still feels elite to me. Like when you go to play Memorial, there's 120
Bay Hill
guys.
Was that way too. Bay Hill was always that way.
And I think that to me, again, I just think that the PGA Tour is kind of pride itself on like you kind of, eat what you kill, right? And you have to go out there and earn it. And I think that Thursday, Friday, and going out there and playing well to make the cut is part of professional golf. And so I kind of like a blend of what we have right now and last year. So like maybe the fields aren't quite as big as last year, but they're not as small as they are now. Like I don't think 70 players is the right answer. Like this week in Connecticut, 70 players with no cut. To me, it'd be a better field at 120. I mean, there's no doubt if you add the next 50 players, which would include guys like, Mark Hubbard and some of these guys that have played great this year.
Yeah.
you add
Wu's
those
another young
guys.
guy.
You add those guys to this field, and the field becomes way, way better. And to win becomes a way bigger accomplishment. And to your point about like me at the Wells Fargo, like I don't think that I played really well on a really tough golf course against great players, but did I earn all those points and that money by finishing that high in that tournament? I mean, it's probably a little bit inflated. I think the points are overdone.
So much, right?
Yeah, like I think they had the right intent for those points, and I know what they were trying to do, but they missed the mark and went way too high to me. Like you finish 20th and you get 100 points, and you're just like, that doesn't seem like I earned 100 points, which is like,
right.
Going and finishing 5th at like, I don't know, Valspar. And to me, like you finish 5th at Valspar or 20th at, the Wells Fargo. I mean, they're not even close to the same thing. I mean, they're just not.
The numbers are going to be the same, right? Like the score to relative to par for the most part doesn't change that much. You know what I mean? Like a 5th at Valspar and a 20th at Wells Fargo, if you have 70 guys versus 120, it's going to be relatively pretty close to similar numbers. Maybe a shot or two difference. Maybe at the top, the guys that win, you might find some guys that really jump up. But as far as just like the number, that doesn't necessarily change that much.
Well, and I think that with the smaller fields, like I finished 6th at Wells Fargo at, I want to say it was, I think I was 6 under par, maybe 5 under par. And I mean, Rory won at 17. Xander was second at like 12. Then it was like 9. And then it was like 6. You just had this huge discrepancy at the top of the board with scoring. And if that field was 120 guys,
you might have had some.
There certainly was going to be more guys sprinkled in there that would have kept things a little more interesting. Now, Rory was still going to win that tournament at minus 17. Like that golf course, I don't see 17 under if I played there for the next week. But you get a small field like that. There's that chance that you get that separation in that spread where now it becomes like not as exciting down the stretch because someone's kind of taken it and run away. So again, I think that there's somewhere in the middle you got to find between last year and this year where it's like, there's probably more guys. There's probably a cut every one of these tournaments because to me, that's what makes the PGA Tour the PGA Tour. And like, you got to go out there Thursday, Friday and earn your keep. And, but I don't see that part of it changing, but man, I think that like adding some extra guys to these fields, I mean, at the very minimum, like you should be filling these fields, like if someone pulls out like Rory, like someone should get in,
like Chris Goddard going up on his single is just so dumb.
Yeah.
He should
there's
let me go play with him.
And there's going to be, like guys this week that probably played poorly the first couple of days and almost wanted to go home. You know what I mean? Like they'd be like, "Oh man, I'm in last place," and it's like,
right.
There's no cut to save me. It's like, I actually want to leave now. And there's
like
no
I'm not getting better playing this weekend.
Yeah,
I'm just getting worse.
And but I don't know what's going to happen next year. But I do think that there needs to be some adjustments made, and I know that there's been some people unhappy with the format. So
I'm sure.
But like I said, the tour right now is trying to keep those top guys happy. So if they like it, then it's probably sticking around.
I think one of the best arguments I've heard, I'm curious if you kind of agree with this, is that the PGA Tour's marquee biggest event that they have and own is the Players Championship. And if anybody knows the Players Championship, it ain't 70 dudes. It's 144 players. So if your biggest event on the PGA Tour has 144 players, why do 6 of your other signature events have just 70? So I think that's where I tend to agree. It's like, is this the best place for competitive professional golf to continue to shrink it? Because I tell you what, some of the best events this year have not even been the signature events. It's been the events that there's been a David versus Goliath type of matchup, and some of the events are slipping my mind right now because
I mean, even like you look at Davis Riley.
Exactly.
Davis Riley stares down Scotty
Thank
Scheffler.
That's what I'm talking about.
Davis Riley's not playing the other events, but
no, he's not.
He's in Colonial, and you go, wow, this guy ran away from a PGA Tour field by 5 shots, stared down Scotty Scheffler in the last group. Like, this guy is that good, and he's not playing the other tournaments. And I think that I like to use the example of in 23 we had. The Waste Management was an elevated event, and Nick Taylor played in the last group with John Rahm and Scotty Scheffler. And he took those two guys right down to the wire and just about won that tournament. But he's not in that tournament with the current structure. Like if that in 23, if we had the 24 structure, he wouldn't have played in that tournament. So to me, it's like you take away that, like I said, the underdog story that the Nick Taylor or the Davis Riley, and like these are incredible players that don't get a chance to play if we keep shrinking it. And I know it's supposed to be really competitive and it's the most competitive tour in the world, but 70 guys or whatever we have right now is probably just a bit too small.
Yeah, you're exactly on it. And we've lingered enough on this. I know you don't want to talk about this the whole time. And really, I love doing podcasts and talking to players, mainly because I love talking about their games. Like it's just like sitting at a bar, you and I talking about, hey, what are you working on? What are the things you're doing well? What are you not doing well? And some of the events this year, for instance, I got to watch you this year at Sea Island. And it just reminds me every single time I watch you play, it's like if this guy if he has a good week ball striking, and I don't think I'm not betting on any other guys. I just think your putting is that ridiculously good. And do you feel that way? Like when you're really striping it, do you feel like there's many guys that can beat you out there?
Yeah, like one of the things I talked about with like my mental guy and my coach is that if I'm just like for the year, if I can be sort of in the middle, if I can be an average ball striker on tour, which basically means I'm not losing, I'm not gaining off a tee or approach, and then my short game is my short game, I'm going to contend to win multiple tournaments and probably win one or two. And that's kind of where I feel like my game is at. And I feel like I'm slowly bringing that ball striking out to a point where I'm quite happy. I've had some nice weeks this year where I've felt like it's shown some really nice signs, and I've had some weeks where it's not been great. And that's kind of my mission right now is to make that ball striking a bit more of a reliable weapon. And I definitely feel like when that's the case, like at Sea Island, and I'm hitting it nice,
it was good,
and putting it nice, then I got a pretty good chance.
Unfortunately, Ludwig Berg just happened to be here that week. That dude was like a robot.
Yeah, that was one of those ones where you're just like you're kind of pissed you didn't win, but at the same time you're like, I just shot 123 on the weekend and I lost by 4. So you're like, I don't even know what to say. I mean, you lost,
shot 63 on the week. You shot 123 on the weekend.
Yeah, so I shot 63. I started the weekend like I want to say 2 back, and I lost by 4.
It doesn't even like make sense saying it out loud. Like that's even possible.
No. I mean, and I remember I went out and on Sunday I was 2 back and I shot 5 under on the front.
Yep.
I birdied 10 and I was still 2 back. And I'm like, what are we doing here? I'm like, this is I'm winning 51 out of 52 weeks of the year if I'm playing like this, and this one time I'm playing this dude that's just also going bananas.
Iceman.
Yeah. And it was nuts. But it was almost like it's one of those tournaments again where you lose and you're like, I didn't really lose. I got beat. I mean, someone was just better than me this week, and like sometimes you finish second and you lose the tournament and you feel like, man, that was mine. It was never really mine. I was just always behind and I was always trying to catch him. I never did.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't walk away with that one with a sour taste in your mouth. You're just like, man, I played great and didn't win.
Yeah.
So
you had another great week at the Valspar. You finished third that week, and that's a really tight golf course. You get to stripe your nug around that place. So that had to be really nice to go to Valspar and have a top 5 finish. And I think the one that needs a little bit of discussion is the RBC Canadian Open. I mean, you were right there in the thick of it, man. And this is a place that you grew up very close to, if my memory serves you correct from our conversation I had with you in the range at the Memorial. So had to be special getting into contention. And I was kind of flipping through Twitter and I was seeing a video of "Oh Canada" being sung at the rink while you're about to tee off. I'm not sure exactly what hole the rink hole was this year, but just talk about what it was like being in contention in your home country and, just memories from that week.
Yeah, that was an incredible week, and I grew up 10 minutes from there. My coach, when I was a teenager, taught out there, so I got to play there a little bit growing up, and whenever I did, it was a real treat. I was always like, yeah, this is going to be a fun day. I get to play Hamilton. And so I remember the first day of the tournament, just when they announced me on the tee, and they announced my hometown, and just – it kind of gave me goosebumps a little bit because it was just like, man, I'm so close to home. I'm doing this, I'm doing this now for my job and for a living. And, as a teenager, I could only have ever dreamt of stuff that cool. And so then, fast forward to the weekend and into Sunday, and to be in contention to win that golf tournament, was really special, and I unfortunately just didn't keep it going on Sunday. But yeah, I mean, there was just some moments that I'll never forget, as far as just you make a putt and the loudness of some of the cheers, and just like being on that rink hole on Sunday and being serenaded with "Oh Canada," and just the overall noise and energy of that whole crowd. It was unbelievable. It was so fun. And you kind of get that sense that this is what it feels like to be a Rory McIlroy every week. That's what he's feeling just about every single tournament he plays in, which is kind of mind-boggling, because I was just like, the hair on my neck was standing up when some of that stuff was happening. It was just that cool for me. And so, as a guy like myself, I don't get the opportunity to have that kind of crowd support very often, and it was really cool to have that and to be so close to home with friends and family around. Just a really special week, and it would have been kind of like the ultimate Cinderella story to get it done, but hopefully we go back there sometime soon and I'll be able to do a little better.
And Charlie Hume is a co-host and producer of the Smylie Show, and he's listening in, and he's somebody that's kind of been struggling with the shanks with his wedges. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I was trying to find it. Didn't you have like a pretty sick little shank at the RBC Canadian Open this year?
I did. It was
yes.
I was
sick.
Like I was on the side of this like bunker, and I had the ball. I was like, it was on my back foot. The ball was like just out of the bunker, and I had to like put it basically off my right foot. Okay. And I like tried to I had this manufactured swing, and the ball was like so far back, and it was like kind of on a big upslope. And yeah, I just hit this thing dead right. And then give me like a degree angle. Actually,
like,
you know what?
Like 45 degree?
No,
or was it?
As far as shanks go, it was a pretty good shank. It was like, I'd say it wasn't quite 45 degrees. It was like 30 degrees right. And I got it pin high, which was pretty good, but under a tree in some fescue. But then, tournament golf being tournament golf, there was a scoreboard right in my way. So I was like,
TIO, baby.
Yes. So I got this drop into some fescue that was like not nearly as long, and I was not under a tree anymore. and then I hit this like unbelievable flop to like 8 feet, and then I lipped out. But
Man,
I almost
that would have
had
been like a dot.
oh, it would have just been unreal, that par. I even Nance on the call was like, "You might see one of the best pars I've ever seen here." And he's like, and then I hit the shot and I almost like made the chip. And he's like, I swear to God, I did not know this was happening. But yeah,
That's so good.
It was a shank. Don't do them
Sick.
too often, but
sick
shank. Yeah, sick shank.
Actually, now that I have this, my shank brain turned on. Is that the best shank you've hit on tour? And how many shanks do you think you've hit on tour? And what's the best shank you've ever seen on tour?
So,
does anything come to mind?
Thankfully, I don't remember. Oh, you know what? No, I do remember it. The Masters. I'm hitting my third shot on 15. And,
oh God, off the downslope.
Downslope.
I chunked it in, like I had a ball roll into the water. I chunked it so bad in the practice round on Monday. So I can't wait to hear this.
So I'm playing with Luke List and Matthew Wolf, and this is the first round. Pins back right on the downslope.
No, it's not a practice round. It's during the tournament.
No, this is the tournament. And so picture the bunker short right.
Yep.
And there's a tree like just behind that bunker, like kind of right of it. And I'm like in between clubs and I'm not sure what to hit, and the wind's kind of in, but like you kind of know how that green is. Like if you land it like in the middle of the green with a bit too much spin, like you can hit the water still, even with the back pin. And so I'm kind of trying to decide what to do, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna back foot a 60 and kind of drive it in there. But I'm kind of not decisive, and I just hit this wicked shank. Now talk about angles. This thing was like 60 degrees. I mean, this thing was going dead right, right off the hosel, and also low, like a screaming low hosel rocket. And Luke List and his caddy are standing like by the bunker, and they have to like hit the deck and like duck to dodge it, and then it hits the side of the tree and like kicks forward to like almost be like pin high right. I mean,
it's not like a worse spot, is it?
Oh my gosh! Like I was thrilled for it to be there. I mean, I could have hit it anywhere. I could have hit the tree on the water. I mean, if I had hit that wedge shot again, oh my gosh, nightmare. So at least I got it like up by the green somewhere. But it was like the quickest right low shank.
Oh man!
And as far as shank on tour, I don't know if I've ever seen one as good as that one. I'm trying to think of anyone else I've seen hit a wicked shank. That's probably the best. That's probably the best shank I've ever seen, and yours truly, I did it. So, that's. I'll have to send you the video when we're done here, but that was
sweet. Yeah, please send it over.
Yeah, it was wicked. It was wicked.
I mean, who doesn't love a good little Haas? It just keeps us humble, keeps us coming back.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, man, that is awesome. Thank you for sharing, because that you didn't have to do that for us. That's really good stuff.
Wear that badge of honor proudly.
Well, I'm not sure if your family's with you this week. Are you solo dolo? I'm
solo this week.
Okay, good for you. And correct me if I'm wrong. 3 kids now?
3 kids. I got two boys that are 6 and 3, and a 1-year-old daughter.
Yeah, and how many months?
She is 18 months.
Yeah, because Anna Carter's 17 months. I felt like they were right around the same age.
Yeah.
So we're kind of in that same spot, at least with your third and my first. So I kind of know what you're going through, but you got 2 other ones, so I don't really know what you're going through. So I'm gonna have to get some insight from you on when Anna Carter eventually gets to I guess continues to get more and more busy and more crazy. But
yeah, three kids is a lot. Whenever I think about that, I think about like the Finals or the Webb Simpson and his family. I'm just like, how do you do that? I don't understand. Yeah,
I think there's a lot of people that don't know what it's like traveling with your family on the PGA Tour. I think people see Mackenzie Hughes on the TV and they just say, oh, he's playing Wells Fargo this week, or he's playing in Tampa this week. And they just expect that you're probably just there with either yourself or just your wife. But I don't think that most people realize that a lot of tour players travel with their families. And so just kind of like walk us through a little bit what it's like. How much stuff do you have to pack? How many, are you just the amount of plane tickets, how much that costs, the hotel rooms, what's the most difficult part of the day? You finish the day after a long day and you come home and you got to go be dad. So just give us like a life inside Mackenzie Hughes when the family is on the road.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of the perks of the job for sure is that, we do something that we're able to bring our families around for or and along for, which, if you work for, some Fortune 500 company and you're the CEO or you're some high up executive and you're going out for business, some weeks, you're not like, oh, let's bring the family and let's go do some fun stuff in New York City. That's like, I'm going to do work and I'm going to do board meetings and that's all I have time for. Well, again, that's sort of the benefit of what we do is we can bring our families around. There's like, as the tour childcare is phenomenal and that stuff is a godsend. I mean, we couldn't do it without them.
What are hours? What are like a typical childcare hours?
Childcare starts on Wednesday and you can bring your kids for up to 6 hours a day. Usually runs from like 8 to 5 or 8 to 6.
That's nice.
So you can bring your kids there for 6 hours a day. Which gives, the wives a nice chance to decompress and, put the kids down and away for a bit.
They go watch you play golf. Like they'll go watch a lot of times.
Or maybe you watch 9 holes and you go like have lunch with your friends or you go watch 9 holes and go work out, whatever. But I think traveling with kids, the hardest part is the travel. And I wish that when they did the Netflix series and the Netflix Full Swing, they've done a better job of maybe telling the tales of someone like myself or like a Peter Malnati or someone like that like is traveling with their families, but not on a private jet every week, flying commercially or driving between tournaments at times, like showing what that's like, because that to me is, while it's fun and it has its perks, is also very exhausting at times and difficult. And to your point about like how much luggage we bring, I mean it's
how much?
It's
how much?
I mean, like,
how many bags?
I mean, typically,
do you use Hoka?
I'd say like if my family's out with me, we have my wife will do my wife is a wizard packing, so she'll pack herself and my daughter into like one suitcase.
Wow.
She'll pack my 2 boys into one suitcase, and then I have my own suitcase. And I have my golf clubs. Then we have booster seat, 2 car seats. And by the time you're like, I have my backpack, and like we're going through the airport and we look like camels. I mean, we're just carrying so much stuff. I'm training all 3 bags. My wife has my golf clubs. I've got kids draping off my golf clubs. I've got, my daughter in the stroller. And people look at us in the airport and they're just like, wow, like, nice work. Like, good job. You really have this down pat. And I'm like, yes, this is a bit of an operation here and we're expert level at this. But it's so much. But like, I think once you get to the tournament and you get unsettled or you get like unpacked and you get into your hotel room or your house, like, then it's all becomes quite normal. But like getting there, like you said, the flights are, rather expensive. Now I've got two kids I have to pay for on the plane, not, the lap childs anymore. And, soon to be 3 butts to pay for. But, I still think it's a luxury to be able to do that though, because as I mean, kids get old quick and the time goes by quick. And if I was gone for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, I didn't see them, that'd be tough. So having them out with me, even if it's just like, if I do a 2-week stretch, they do 1 week, just so I'm not away too much, from them. But yeah, it's a big production. And, I think that as you do it over time, you get better and better at it and you learn the different tricks and the different things you have to do. But yeah, and this year is my first year with my son started kindergarten this year, so we're not
okay. So
we're not doing it as much.
a little bit.
Yeah, the schedule changed a little bit. We're not doing it quite as much, and so that's been a little different and a bit of adjustment. But yeah, I still think it's one of the perks that we have is that we're able to kind of bring our crew along with us and kind of share the moment and come home to them after a day, whether good or bad, and just be a dad.
I think there's probably a lot of dads and moms right now that are listening and just trying to process like how difficult that actually is. And you have a job to do because you have a job to do and you have to keep your body healthy. You're always in the gym. I mean, I feel like you and I were early adopters of being in the gym and how important it was to warm up our bodies before the round. There was probably only 25% of us of the field in the weight training facilities back in 2015 and 16, like you and I were. But now it's like, I mean, there's not a guy that's not warming up before the round. So there's just a lot that goes into being a professional golfer. And I think you just said it perfectly.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot of energy. And I think that people don't realize how hard it is. And again, I could cry river here and I'm sure I'd get absolutely roasted for it. But just like the fact that if you play golf and you have a long day on the course and, let's say you played early and you had a 7:30 tee time. So you're up at 4:30, you're in the gym, you're getting warmed up and you have a 5-hour round done at 12:30. You eat lunch, practice after, maybe get some work done, some treatment, and you're home by, let's say, 2:30 or 3. So you've had a pretty long day, you put a lot of effort in, and then you come home and your kids are there and it's like, Dad, let's go play. Let's go to the pool. Let's go, I want to go to the zoo or I want to go to the park. And you're just like,
brain dead.
I would love to. I would just also want to sit on my butt for 30 minutes and just decompress a little bit.
And watch golf and listen to me call 7 irons. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's where you're heading.
You just don't get to you can't really explain it to them and reason with them. They're just like, well, Dad, you're here. Let's play. And, like you said, professional golf requires a lot of energy, a lot of focus. And I think that that's the tough balance that you have with your family being on the road a little bit. But it's a good problem to have and certainly thankful for them.
Yeah, I know everybody just enjoyed that in the last 10, 15 minutes because it's something that we don't ever hear talked about and how fun it is and how difficult it is and how amazing it is to have a family, but you're a pro golfer. So, I know you have lofty goals too, Mackenzie. I mean, you're a PGA Tour winner and you've had plenty of success being a professional golfer. You've had your ups, you've had your downs, and I've seen your downs and I've seen your ups, and it's been a lot of fun to watch. But I think where we got to finish this conversation, right, is it's a big year to be a Canadian golfer. It really is. I know how important it is for you to represent your country, and the President's Cup being in Montreal. I know that has to be at the forefront of your mind. Not just you. I'm sure Nick Taylor, Adam Hadwin, Adam Svensson, and Nick, and Taylor Pendrith. I mean, these are all guys that all want to be on that team. And Mike Weir being the captain, and I'm not familiar with Royal Montreal, but I've heard Montreal is just a fantastic city. It is going to be an incredible venue. Well, with all that being said, how difficult is it? How hard is it to not think about future things that you want to be a part of?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, and I think that more so now than earlier in my career, I might have tried to spend a lot of energy trying not to think about it,
Mm-hmm.
Where now it's just you lean into it, you embrace it, and be like, wow, this would be amazing and it'd be a lot of fun. It's going to be hard to make that team. I'm going to be feeling the nerves as I try to make that team, but that's kind of the fun part of what we do. We get to try and do hard things, and we get to try to overcome things and battle through thoughts. And to me, that's a fun challenge, a fun battle, and I look at it more that way than I think. I made the mistake when the President's Cup was in Charlotte of I think trying too hard and forcing that issue a little bit, and as a result, I didn't play well in the 6 or 7 weeks leading up to the picks, And I think that was kind of my downfall, was I hadn't played good enough leading up to it to warrant a pick. And so I think that's something that I've kind of learned from last time, was just that, hey, look, trying to force things or trying really hard to make that team and maybe exerting extra effort isn't really the answer. You got to find that right effort level, right? Like I want to make that team more than anything, but I can't force the issue. So I think for me, like you said, that's probably like my biggest goal of the year, was to make that team. I still think I'm in a pretty good position to do that. And you look back at some of the close calls. Like I had a close call at the Valspar, a close call at the Canadian Open, and if you get the job done in either one of those tournaments, I'm pretty much right there, as far as like an automatic pick probably. But you have to get those tournaments across the line, and I'm hopeful that I can get myself back in that position this year before that President's Cup. And but yeah, to play for Mike, to play in Canada for President's Cup would be fairy tale stuff for me, and just like a huge feather in my cap. And I have had a hard time not thinking about it, but at the same time, it excites me to think about it, and it motivates me a lot and keeps me working hard towards those goals.
What about the golf course in the city? Just give me a little feel and a vibe of what this golf course and just that part of the country is like. So
I wish I could give you any kind of golf course knowledge. I have never played it. So I don't know what the golf course is like. I've heard it's great. I know they were there in 2007 for the President's Cup. The city itself is a lot of fun.
I've heard that. I've heard it's amazing.
Yeah, and I think if you were like a young person and single, you would love to spend time in Montreal. As a family man now, it's probably not my scene, but
I feel that, buddy. I'll see you at the see you at the 5:30 dinner. I'll see you.
And the lights out at 9 p.m. But the city itself is fun. I just think that it's a great city for the President's Cup to be in. I think the fans and the people there will be really passionate and behind the event. There's like some logistical difficulties. I think the event is the golf course is on a bit of an island. And whether it's an island or a peninsula, I'm not really sure, but there's basically one road in and one road out of the golf course.
Oh, that sounds like traffic.
Yeah. And it's apparently just a huge headache for the tournament ops to kind of get that sorted out. I have no idea how they're going to do it, how they're going to get people in there, how they're going to get spectators in there, but they're going to figure it out. I know that there's smart people doing it, and they've done it before, so they'll figure it out. But I think guys will have a lot of fun there. I think the American guys coming up there will really enjoy the city. They'll have a lot of fun there. So, hopefully I'll be there, and hopefully it'll be, time for the internationals to get one.
Well, Mike Weir, if you're listening, which I'm sure you are, I'm sure Mike Weir is just a huge Smylie Show fan, because why would he be?
Yeah,
and Mike, make sure you like and subscribe while you're here, and while you're here, also, just a reminder. Mackenzie Hughes is going to be a guy that makes the 10 inside of 10-foot putts, which is so important in match play. So let's not forget about that key component. Put that man with a partner. He's going to be absolutely killing it, making putts, getting the Canadian fans riled up. So there's our push for Mackenzie Hughes to Montreal. So hopefully we see you there. And I know there's plenty of other events throughout the rest of the year that you say that, plenty of opportunities to go and get a win, or, put on a good impression for the captain. And with your good play at the RBC Canadian Open, finishing T7, you've made it to the Open Championship. But what's the rest of your year look like? Calendar outside the Open Championship and the Travelers this week?
Yeah. So I'm playing. Yeah, I play this week. Then I'll take 2 weeks off, and I'll play the Scottish and the British back to back, and then I will take a week off, play the Wyndham most likely, and then it's playoff time, which is kind of crazy to think. Like, It just
So
seems
fast.
It seems
So
so
fast.
fast. I feel like we just started and we're done. And I've played 16 events so far this year, and I've got 4 more. And then we're in the playoffs, and it just seems like that just seems like such a. I mean, I haven't played as much as some other guys, but I'm like, I'm used to hitting the playoffs at like 24 events or 25 events and playing 28, and now without the fall series being kind of included in your season, it just seems like we're just like, I mean, very slim on the number of events you've played, and yeah, it just kind of wild to me that like we're already at that point where we're like talking about playoffs,
Crunch
and
time.
yeah. So that's kind of what my schedule looks like. So I've got I guess 4 more events before the playoffs, and then I'll be in Memphis, and then I'm working on the last 2.
Sweet, man. Well, I look forward to watching you the rest of the year. And before you go, can you just give us a little bit of feel of what the Travelers Championship looks like? How's the golf course, weather conditions expected for the week, just to give us a little feel for what we're expecting in Cromwell, Connecticut?
Yeah, so they've made a few changes to the golf course.
Really? Where?
Yeah, like very subtle. So the ones I can take you through that I know of right now. So number 9, the par 4 dogleg right. They actually took that tee from like the back left corner of the property there to like a little bit of a shift, like 20 yards to the right, and across the cart path there.
Is that keeping guys from hitting driver?
Yeah, so now it's more of a layup to the left and hit it on. So you won't see guys taking it over the corner quite as much. I think you can still do it potentially with a big slice, but there's not many guys long enough to hit it with a big slice over the corner. So there's that. And then number 11, they like took out like
downhill par 3, 140 yards, right?
Yeah, like the left side of the green, they took about 10 feet of green off the green. So they kind of like just basically shrunk that green. So a bit of a smaller target, and left of the green like kind of kicks off into some like mounds and swales and stuff like that. So you miss that green, you've got some stress. And then number 12, number the 12, the
always a really good
right
hole.
Yeah, that's kind of like a sneaky hard hole. Like can like if the wind's in, it can be a hard tee shot. But usually you run over that hill and there's fairway all the way down into the bottom. Well, now the fairway stops where it crests that hill. So now it's rough in between there. And then the fairway starts again at like 50 yards, but all that stuff on the bottom is rough now. So you're either going to play up top or you're going to hit it all the way. I mean, yeah. So it's I don't know. It's weird.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
If you get caught on the downslope in the rough through the fairway,
you got no chance. To an elevated green, no chance.
Yeah, it's bogey.
That makes zero sense.
Let's see where else.
What are we doing there, Mackenzie?
That's pretty much it. Golf course is in phenomenal shape. Always typically is around here. Greens are fast. Rough is actually quite up, so there'll be a premium on hitting the ball in the fairway and hitting the greens. It's thick. But again, it's one of those courses where you feel like if you're hitting it well, you're going to go shoot 5 under. But if you're off, you can shoot 2, 3, 4 over, pretty quickly. So certainly feels a lot easier than last week.
It's got to be nice showing up to like just some nice wedges and 9 irons.
Yeah, it's nice to just chip it on the green and know it's not rolling off the other side. So yeah, it's been good so far, and I think the forecast this week is pretty hot. So unusual for Connecticut, but yeah, should be a great week, and I've had some pretty good success around this golf course. So looking forward to a good week.
It's always been one of my favorite back nights on tour until I just heard about this change at 12, and now my head's in a tizzy.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with it either, but that's what it is. That's what it is this week. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what guys do, because I think it's going to play into the wind all week. I think so. Guys are going to be laying it up top and hitting a shot in from 130 or 140 yards, basically. So
Which is fine. I mean, that's a lot of guys end up hitting it there anyways, but I don't understand that. But whatever. All right, we're wrapping up. This is it. Mackenzie, go crush it this week at Travelers. Going to be cheering you on the rest of the year. Hope to see you get that dub throughout wherever we see it. Get it done. We know you're going to get it done because you're a baller. We're always going to be cheering you on, man, and I appreciate you coming on.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks, Smylie.
I listen to this podcast. It's really cool. And
all of our lovely fans and subscribers, but make sure you like and subscribe.
It's cool to see what you guys are doing. I know golf fans appreciate it, but we do too, so please keep it up.
For all the good people of YouTube, like and subscribe.
You guys have some good takes, so I'm happy to come on and shoot the